So with this, we are moving on to one more panel discussion. Winning the recruitment race, building high-performance recruitment teams. So much has changed over the last 10 or so years in terms of what the recruitment process looks like, and this has had an obvious impact on both how recruiters work and also what they look in for a job. Essentially, the skills and attitude needed to be a high-performing recruiter aren't the same as they once were. And therefore, how we measure, grow, and manage high-performance teams needs to change too. In this session, let's understand the use of recruitment and attraction strategies to build cohesive teams. How roles and rewards can impact on team performance, what is leadership style, and how it plays a part in high-performing teams. Joining us on the panel is Anupam Jain, Senior Director HR at Thought Focus. Anupam is a proven talent acquisition leader with over 19+ years of progressive and comprehensive domestic and international experience in all areas of HR in the services and product industry. A visionary and innovative leader with the ability to run independent business units with high standards of transformation delivery and lean operations. Welcoming Anupam Jain with us. Our next panelist is James Jacob, Senior Vice President at Hinduja Global Solutions. James has been serving as SVP Talent Acquisition at HGS for more than half a decade. He has a career track record of over 30 years imparting vision focused to key operations with renowned multinational manufacturing and service industries. Welcoming James Job. We have Dhanashree Thakkar, Chief People Officer at Future Group India. Dhanashree has gained varied experience in the automotive, media, retail and BFSI sectors. She has also headed HR for an employee base of 6,000 employees besides other COE functions and is currently managing the OD vertical for a base of 6,000 employees. Let's hear that for Dhanashree Thakkar. And I'd like to invite our moderator for the session. We have Anu Matthew, Director Recruiting at Cerner Corporation. With over 17 years of experience, she currently heads recruiting functions for India, APAC, Australia, and Middle East for the company. A certified global professional in human resources. Please join us welcoming Anu Matthew.
Thank you so much, panelists, and thank you so much for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be part of a discussion which is so interesting for all of you who are there, because without people, there is no recruiting. Technology, process, and people form the three major elements of any organization, and that's the same with recruiting organization as well. So high-performing teams, I think in the introduction, actually talk about skills, behaviors, leadership styles, all of that, and it's very interesting to actually talk through it and give our audience some good takeaways, because everybody is thinking, how do I build such teams? So actually, before starting, I just want to understand how many of you are from the ITES environment? Okay. How many from manufacturing? Okay. How many from the startup ecosystem where the dynamics are very different? Okay. And how many don't fall into any of these categories? Okay, good. The reason why I asked is this will actually help us frame our perspectives to cater to the audience. So one of the observations that I've had is high-performing recruiting teams makes the CEOs or the operations leaders look good. Because they take away most of their people worries by getting the right people, the best of quality people, and makes their life easier. And for that, you need a good combination of skills, behaviors, and outcomes. So in your experience, especially with the changing ecosystem, what are some of the skills that is required to make it successful as a recruiter? That's one. Second thing is, how do they be part of build high-performing contributors to the team? So James, just want to understand your perspective.
Very good morning to my fellow recruiters here. It's always good to be a part of the recruitment team around. And thanks, Talview, for having me here. Coming to Hanu's question, I think the recruitment as a function or a recruiter, it's a very strategic in nature as far as today's business is concerned. So many a times the recruiter's point of view is that, just pushing a resume or selecting a candidate is where my job starts or job ends. But I think it involves over and beyond that. It starts from, being a person who does the marketing. So the job posting itself is a marketing type of a job that you guys are doing. And then it goes on to, the selling your, the job role that is available, goes on to, engaging with your stakeholders. And the stakeholders again are, various stakeholders that you have. You have the candidate, you have the business, you have the functions that you might be working with. So there's a huge chain of, work that today it is expected from a recruiter. So definitely, some of the skills that I think that becomes very important as far as a recruiter is concerned is that the stakeholder management. So how are you able to manage your stakeholder well? How do you understand his requirement? How do you ensure that you engage with them in a manner that their expectations are? Today there are stakeholders who would like to know that, you as a candidate or as a recruiter is meeting a lot of candidates in the market. So how would you be able to give me the market information as far as what is happening in the other competition? Their expectations are that, you keep me updated about each of the candidates that you have been speaking to and what is the status as far as the candidates are concerned. The eye for detail that a recruiter has as far as the candidate that he meets, right from the discussions that he would be having with them. So I think, yes, there are all these multiple skills that the expectations are as of today.
Okay, great. See, one of the observations that I have is most of the recruiting items are old wine in new bottles kind, because it's the same input, you have candidates, and finally it's an output which is a select. But people make a difference. You have everything latest and greatest coming in, the skills. If you were a recruiter 10 years back also, you would need these skills. But that's why I said it's old wine in new bottles. So the ecosystem is very important. And also the kind of extras that the recruiter should possess is very critical. So Dhanashree, I just want to understand in your industry, which is very, very diverse, what are your perspectives of skills that a recruiter should possess?
I like the word talent acquisition more than recruiter, because I feel the job of talent acquisition is to get the input in. I mean, other functions start off after, if you've not managed to get some of the best in the industry or who are doing very well in their fields in, I don't think other inputs really work. So I like to differentiate there. The skills which are required, pretty much, I think, I wouldn't call it a skill, but rather a competence in terms of very high business acumen in understanding what is the business really about, whether it's retail, whether it's insurance, whether it's manufacturing, any industry or IT, for example, understanding what is it which will drive the business and therefore what kind of talent do I need, what is available in the market. The second key important skill is influencing skills, which is being able to influence my business to understand that what is available, which will fit from the current context. So influencing skills becomes very important. As you move up the hierarchy in talent acquisition, driving change becomes quite important. For example, today we are talking of technology, different processes. However, our business is still very, very comfortable in the space of having met a candidate 4 times, 5 times, isko bhi milao, usko bhi milao, nahi ek baar meeting kara lo, especially when it's mid-management upwards. So this change to something which is a shorter span of the entire selection process is something which requires a change in mindset. And lastly, there is a difference. So technology is coming in, but what is happening is there is a difference in the entire recruitment cycle, with selection becoming a very, very important skills. So as talent acquisition professionals, building and updating on our skills on selection becomes very, very important, because technology can replace the other parts of sourcing or the offer and all of that, either through an RPO or a technology or anything which is done. However, selection skills become quite difficult to replicate at different levels of the entire recruiting process.
Great. I really like the phrase talent acquisition being used, to be used actually, because, recruiting is what we actually do as a job, but the outcome is actually acquiring talent. And in that perspective, and in that context, acquisition requires, something which is much beyond, again. What would that be, Anupam, from your industry experience? What are some of the additional qualifications or skills that an ideal recruiter should possess to be part of a high-performing team?
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. We talked about landscape, the skills knowledge a recruiter should have, kind of market is there. We talked about the business acumen they need to understand. So one point I would like to add in business acumen, that about your business horizon, what kind of work do you do, what are business challenges from sales teams to delivery. If you understand that, then you are in a better position to provide the right kind of solution to your organization. One thing which usually we don't talk about in recruitment is communication. So many times you'll find a lot of recruiters who are quite capable, but they are not able to communicate well. They cannot do stakeholder management. That becomes a big challenge. So that is one skill which every recruiter has to have, and we are working on that in our organization per se. And one of the most important skills which I see for a recruiter is how to analyze the data, that analytical skill with the recruiter, because you can have all the technologies in place, you can have everything in place, but if you are not able to analyze your data, if you are not able to get the result out of that and then implement the solution for that, then you will fall behind. You will always keep struggling with the pace. So I think these are the few things which are quite important to be a part of talent acquisition professional. Beautiful.
I think one of the key skills today to be harnessed by a recruiter is communication, business acumen, and above all, there's a lot of data management, data analytics that is required, and that I feel is just being talked about, but not really invested in by our recruiters. The other piece is, recruiters can choose to actually serve from the kitchen or come to the drawing room and serve.
True.
So if you want to be served in the kitchen, you don't need to harness any skills. But if you really want to come and serve in a drawing room, you really have to have everything in place. So that is where I think the summary is, that it is your choice how you want to invest in yourself to come to the forefront and become a true talent acquisition partner who understands business, understands the ecosystem. The acumen you have is to harness, all what the business has as a capability, and then demonstrate that with all these things, I can bring the best talent to meet your talent needs. Now, this actually makes me to the other element. What are behaviors, ideal behaviors? We all talk about rewarding good behaviors in recruiting, but what are some of the behaviors that you see that recruiters should possess?
Okay.
Anupam, I think you can...
So first and foremost, I always emphasize on the passion, because recruitment is, or talent acquisition is a field where you need to keep striving hard to make some changes and keep delivering. And a lot of stakeholder management and a lot of negatives coming from them. So passion drives you. If recruiter doesn't have a passion, or talent acquisition person doesn't have a passion, then they cannot survive. And then the two things which are very important for as a behavioral aspect. One is learning capability. You need to keep on learning. You need to keep on learning and then implementing those things. And the second one is adaptability, change. That how you are able to keep a pace up with the change, because environment is changing very fast, and if you are not able to have that pace within yourself, then you will fall behind, and you will not be able to be a successful talent acquisition professional for sure.
Yeah, that actually makes me think, how many of you think that talent acquisition is, it's a not so interesting job? How many agree that? Actually, if you talk to the other part of the world, which is the HR business partners, they would say that, okay, this is one of the toughest job. And, people really want to spend time in the fanciest job than get into the toughest job, which is getting people in. With that context, I know you have a larger horizon, Dhanashree. What is your perspective on this, on the toughness of this job and what the other world looks like?
I feel it's one of the, it is the most important function, and it has strategic value. And why I say that is the other rosier parts of, say what I've done, which is organization development, very, very glamorous, talent management, performance management, very, very glamorous parts. None of that would be required if I have very good talent in place. I need my input better. If it's, garbage in, garbage out, doesn't work. So my input has to be very, very strong, and imagine how my investment, yes, talent management, performance management, all that is required. But imagine my bang for the buck being far higher if my input quality is very, very good.
Absolutely. I think that's a brilliant point. I think one of the biggest things that I find in recruiters is they just want to spend 2 hours in recruiting and jump into the fancier world of the so-called, the change management, performance management, and drive everything where there's no targets attached to them. And, life is kind of comfortable, that's what I assume. But that's not the case in the real recruiters world. So James, you deal with a lot of volume hiring in your world. And, in that context, what are some of the behaviors that you think that will make a recruiter highly successful?
Yeah, so specific as far as volume is concerned, the key requirement for business is that you need the heads so that your revenue gets generated. You need the people at a certain cost, and your cost per hire has to be maintained. So the balance sheet looks better. So you're a cost to that, and how do you do that at the least of the price? So your profitability comes out of that. So business, that becomes important. The quality of the hire that you do determines the service delivery that they do. Because if you are giving me quality input, then I'm able to deliver a better quality to my stakeholders or to my customers, and the customers will then give me more business. So that's the importance as far as the recruitment as a function is concerned, and hence the behavioral perspective that a recruiter has to be he has to be absolutely target oriented. So there is a target that he has to work out. He has to ensure the number comes in the way the expectations are. So he needs to have another skill, that is planning and organizing. How does he make that entire plan to ensure that the end business goals gets achieved? And he tracks that. He tracks his delivery. He tracks his quality of hires and things so.
Yeah, I think recruiting is it's a highly accountable job, because your performance scorecard is out in the open for everybody to see. It's black or white. Either you fill the position or don't fill the position. There's no cosmetics that can be done actually to the recruiter's job. So, this is great actually. Now, with all the AI ML bit coming in, the biggest questions that everybody has is, will technology take over some of the recruiters' jobs? And if that's the hypothesis, what are some of the perspectives that you can share?
Yeah, so I've been in this space for almost around 11 years, and again in a volume hiring that, almost 80% of our hiring is on a volume and maybe 20% on this. We as an organization has gone into, supporting both AI and ML, and today as we speak, we also have a business excellence team as a part of, this forum. It's not only the TA team that is here, and the reason is that, how do we start investing into more of machine learning and analytics. But having said that, I think, the recruitment as a function is also evolving. So it's not only about, getting the numbers or doing your sourcing part. It's also about how do you become a team that provides the solution to your business. So a recruiter can, start looking at how do I become a part of the solutioning team in recruitment itself. How he or she can do a good job as far as recruitment marketing is concerned. So how does he or she start supporting the marketing function, as far as the recruitment is concerned. So I don't think that if a recruiter is ready to upskill himself, then there is a lot of opportunity that is available. AI and ML will play a part, and it will help you to, keep improving as far as your efficiencies are concerned, and it is there to stay as far as the function is concerned.
That gives a little bit of relaxation for all of us. How about you? What do you think, actually, in your industry, with all the latest, with this technology coming and taking over most of the piece, how do you think the future of the recruiter's job is?
So adoption of technology in recruiting varies across industries. I mean, say for example, my experience in insurance, there is still a lot of resistance. However, we were the early adopters then of something like a TalView with a lot of AI. And what I feel, as skill sets to be prepared for is any field, whether it's recruitment or otherwise, anything which is repeatable, anything which is, will be taken over by technology. In case of talent acquisition, I see, anything which is not necessarily individual skill-based can be easily replaced. So therefore, as a talent acquisition professional, my skills, like I said earlier, will be around selection. My skills will be around, is this understanding business and the person fit? That is this right? Ultimately, a technology is fed in by the individual who's running it, right? If I'm using an AI-based tool, what are the characteristics I'm looking for? What are my deal makers and deal breakers as spoken yesterday? What are those? Are largely determined by the talent acquisition professional. So that understanding of business still continues to be there, and it's about upping the ante on these specific skill sets.
Brilliant. How about you, Anupam? What do you think?
First thing, machines are run by people. So you always need people. So that's not going away. And people who are capable enough, for them, it's not a challenge. So capability, two ways. One is when you bring some intelligence, something different to the table, you are going to stay back. And people who can keep slogging. You need people in recruitment who can keep doing things. So it's not like, I think the challenge can be for those people who are themselves not sure whether they will stay or not. Otherwise, I don't see, at least for next 10 years, it's going to be a challenge in HR fraternity, especially in talent acquisition, that machines will take our jobs. So.
Okay, so that is great to hear. So talent acquisition is here to stay. So if you invest in the right skills and right behaviors, upskill yourself, make yourself adapt to the changes, you can be a successful individual, and you can be part of high-performing teams, and you can build great organizations. Do you all agree with me? So what is the point of view that our audience have now, that I just want to pose this to the audience and see what is your perspective and what do you really want to share as a thought or ask us any questions?
Hi, Anu.
Hi.
Good afternoon to the every panel sitting over here. So Dhanashree, my question is directed to you. So it's precisely on the selection part which you were talking about. So I work with State Street and State Street Corporation. Yes, so basically I work in a recruitment model which is called a hub. And so basically what we do is we cater for all the countries wherein State Street is having its presence. And we actually control the talent acquisition process as a center of excellence from India all over the globe. So I precisely work for Poland region. So wherein the initial so the pattern of State Street recruitment is the initial 2 rounds of recruitment interviews are telephonic, or usually a Skype or a web-based one. And probably the next one is a face-to-face, wherein the candidate gets to in person meet the hiring manager who's sitting at the office location. So during the selection process, the kind of candidate engagement what I do is in the end of the conversation, when I end up the call, I try and share across a request over the prevailing social media platforms to stay in touch with them. So as per you, if we are working on an offshore business model, so and you are working in a non-tech front, so as per you, what should be the metrics or things which I should be considering in having a good candidate engagement or refined selection process? Basically, when you are catering to somebody who is not in front of you, and yeah.
So I think if you understand, so I didn't completely understand the industry context, but whatever I've understood so far, if you're able to shorten the hiring manager's timeline in terms of that, is there a higher fit there between you doing the initial phase and what is he looking for, okay? And therefore there is a fit there, that's one. Okay. Second is also start measuring the perspective, the technique of hiring itself, your technique of selection, which is the interviewing. Whatever you're asking on the phone, whether it's on the Skype or whether it's any technology, what are you using? What tools are you using to shorten the process? I liked what Scott Wintrip said yesterday, which is the see, hear, and experience. And in that short time period, if you are able to get very rich data and information which facilitates decision making faster, is where your skills lie. You may use any psychometrics, you may use interviewing process, you may use assessments, online, offline, whatever it is. It's about what is your knowledge and understanding compared to what's required for the business and that culture. That's where your skill set lies. How do you shorten that?
So you say that it's more of an aligned with personal attributes of a recruiter rather than getting dependent upon any third-party tool for the assistance? It's
aligned with the role. What is required for the role, and recruiters, or I resist the word recruiter, talent acquisition professionals, knowledge and his acumen to understand what's required for the role and is there a fit. That's where your capability rises. I mean, that's where your capability curve has to move up.
So that's how we can refine our selection process.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dhanashree.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of such enriching intellectual conversation, and wish you everybody the best.
Let's hear it for them, please. Let's take one picture. Once again, let's hear it for the panel.